start the panel at that time. Can the IT start the viewing room first? The viewing room, yeah.
Just for who all has joined us already, we thought that it would be a good idea to simply browse through the viewing room and the works that are showcased in this exhibition. So, to begin with, Ashwini initiated this conversation more than a year ago, and it was something that I jumped at because it is such a wonderful opportunity to understand more about the various different sorts of traditional and indigenous practices that we have across India. And I can say, I think, to all of us here that this is simply the tip of the iceberg. There are so many layers and so many voices that we have across the country, connected, of course, to historical lineages, but also all these various forms that are evolving and changing as the days go. So, using the Navarasa was sort of for two reasons. One is to reconnect with our own, history, our own cultural history, and the kind of visual languages that we have in India, but also to offer a kind of framework to these artists that is connected to the way they practice, because mythology and the understanding of visual representations in mythology is something that's very prominent in our narrative structures. So, opening with Adbhuta, it so happened that all the artists who responded specifically to this particular ras did understand it in terms of the wonderment of nature, and each body of works, and in fact each work in this entire compilation, is something that has come from a conversation and from the artist's engagement with these particular themes. So, J. Niranjanji, who is also going to be on the panel with us, he has done some exquisite work with Kalamkari. And this idea of the Kalpataru, or the Kalpa Vriksha that is ever giving, he represents in this way with blooms of so many different types. We have also, looking at nature and the notion of the Kalpavriksha, both Dilip Bahota as well as Chirag Kumawat. Chirag, in fact, who develops this wonderful playfulness of understanding what the position of the artist is in itself. What does an artist do as this mediator between the narrative, between something that is imagined and something that is real? So we have all these, multi-layered understandings that, to begin with, we have, of course, Bharata Muni's eight explanations of the of the rasa, which were eight first, and then added by Abhinavagupta. Of course, Shanta rasa came later. But here we have these artists, interpreting these in so many different ways. So with Bhayanak Ras, we have this absolutely incredible work by Janardhan Havanje, who in fact works with the Kavi technique, uh, uh, connected to the regions of Goa and Karnataka. And it's a very specific technique that uses a method of etching almost. So there are layers in the painting, and his depiction of Sharabishwara is something that has to be experienced, and I hope that sometime we can see these in physical form. Bahadur Chitrakar, who in fact depicts the idea of fear more connected with an entire community that wants to save its natural heritage. Um, Coming again to this wonderful inclusion for us in this exhibition of the performative arts themselves, with the work of Shaji Jalil as well as Mahesh, who have respectively looked at or who have shared works of their documentation of Kathakali and Yakshagana, respectively, and some wonderful expressions there. We have Venkat Singh Sham's absolutely, moving depiction of this deity who is connected to the corona. And of course, this is a very interesting history in Indian visual culture of associating a particular illness, like it has happened in the past for both plague and smallpox, to have a deity related to that particular disease or illness, so that it can create a sort of negotiation with the gods for divine intervention. And that's something that has come here. Though we are looking at corona with some sort of disgust, he is combining it with this understanding of how does one, bring in an association with the divine. In Hasya, we have, of course, the inimitable Kalam Patua, whose work uh, talks about this playfulness and this amusing nature of a courtship scene. And here, of course, it's the Sura or Saki, the wine and the friend. And Kalam, of course, is known for his very satirical commentaries on contemporary living, and he makes these delightful narratives wherever he goes, whichever place he is in. He relates to this sort of sociological understanding of the way people behave with each other and the way social hierarchies work. We have of course then someone like Chirag again and Naresh Bhoy. Here we are looking at a very multi-layered understanding also when we look at the term hasya as coming from an explanation of the performing arts in the Navarasa. We have here the exhilaration and the joy that comes from being together, the happiness and the laughter that is in fact seen in Chirag's work, where this entire gypsy community is coming together in some form of celebration. The movement, the gestures, the sort of togetherness, bringing this idea of mirth, of laughter, of connecting with each other in these ways. So the beauty, I think, of using uh, a concept like the Navarasa to look at visual arts is that it is completely multi-layered. It's not, we don't expect that each person who visits the show or looks at the work is going to take away absolutely the same emotion from everything. Yes, we are talking about it or curating it in such a way that the dominant emotion is one that the artist recognizes and has associated with. For instance, Karunyam or Karuna, where both Pratik Prabhakar, who is working in the Mithila style, and Saroj Venkatsham have both associated the idea with compassion or empathy, or that comes from the relationship of parents with children. But we can also see it as love. We can also see it as an understanding of a certain kind of fear. There are many different layers when it comes to human emotions, um, that are sort of interlinked in so many beautiful ways, that are also subsidiary to the one that is dominantly seen. Here again, we have Shaji Jalil's work, which is this particular person is Sebi, and he has been following Sebi in his performances, both on stage and off stage. And so we have certain images that show the artist also in practice mode, where where he is just becoming that particular bhav, and therefore it is then crystallized in that image that is then transferable to audiences like all of us who are sitting in different parts of the world. Coming next to Raudra, here again I'm so happy that we were able to include the performing arts, because the dance drama tradition that exists across India in so many different regions is something that is wonderful, and we also have to be aware at all these moments that many of these forms are being lost due to various different reasons. And Mahesh, of course, was engaged with the documentation of these particular this particular form because his father was a scholar of Yakshagana, and this particular exercise documented the very prominent aspects of makeup and costume that were slowly beginning to disappear during the 80s. And so this documentation that will soon be published as a book and a volume is something that we will hear a little more about later in today's event. And Dulari Devi's work, of course, that um, absolutely symbolizes this notion of Raudram, the anger of Kali as Shiva places himself at her feet and stops her from destroying the rest of humanity, the rest of the world. Um, Coming actually now to Shantam after Rudram, we have a beautiful depiction of Ardhanarishwara by Suresh Muthukalam in the Kerala mural style. And I think we are really, really happy to have included this poem in this show. We have really touched upon the south and the north, and the east and the west, and perhaps the heart of India, with in fact uh, uh, Gond as well as Madhubani art being in the center. So here, Suresh Muthukalam, with his Ardhanarishwara, balances Shiva and Parvati, the sort of epitome of Purusha and Prakriti that sort of are at the center of everything that nature's cycle runs on. And of course, here we also have, the relaxed muscles and the sort of calm state during performance in both Yakshagana as well as um, the Kathakali performance that Shaji Jalil has documented. Um, Coming next to in fact, another incredible work in the Kavi style by Janardhan Havanje. And this depicts Vishnu, Seshasai. He is at repose, calm, and completely balanced. And that is what the artist also has managed to depict in this wonderful work, where the balance the rich hues of the reds are are with the beautiful negative space, which is what Kavi art is all about, and that art form is usually was usually done on the walls of temples and homes. Similarly, with the Varli arts practice, Dilip Bahota, of course, is a contemporary artist who has been um experimenting with a variety of very fresh forms within the Varli tradition. And this is a discussion that many of us have been having about the way these artists have been able to evolve their work and respond to extremely contemporary understandings of what their own heritage is, which is what I discuss in the introduction as well of this exhibition about how they are in many different ways, technically, conceptually, as well as in terms of understanding various other traditional forms around them. They continue to make changes in their work. One of them, of course, is Bahadur Chitrakar, who has done us a couple of really really beautiful patachitras. Here he is talking about the notion of contentment, how anand or contentment or this idea of peace and contentment comes to different people in so many different guises. Here, of course, it could be a mother and her child, it could be someone planting a tree, or someone having a wonderful harvest. To come to, of course, one of the most beautiful sections in our exhibition, Shringar Ras. And this, of course, though we dominantly think of it as romantic love or erotic love, it comes again with so many layers. Here, of course, we have Suresh Muthukulam and Gopi Chevayur, both of them working in the Kerala mural style and depicting this idea of romantic love. But we also have, in this section, we have lower down the idea of uh, love as being a form of friendship, love in friendship being celebrated in a festival like Holi, as done by Kalyan Joshi in the third style, and a beautiful and very thought-provoking rendition by Chirag Kumawat again about this idea of beauty. As you know, what are these questions of beauty and attraction that in fact become part of this discussion? And coming to, of course, the the end, but like another beginning, I hope, because I hope all of you will go and engage with all the works in so many different ways. Are these ideas of devotion in different ways, love to the family deity, and also love for a child, that are respectively done by Saroj Venkatcham and Dulari Devi. So, with that run through, I hand over now to Ashwini to begin with the rest of the program.
Thank you. Thank you, Lena. I would request the clippings, please, from the IT team. Good evening, everyone. I am Ashwini Pai Bahadur, and on behalf of Art Speaks India Heritage, I welcome you all to the online preview of Enduring Legacy, Navrasa in Contemporary Indigenous Practices, which opens today on our viewing room at artspeaksindia.com. This exhibition is curated by Lena Vincent and celebrates a compilation of 12 Indigenous art forms with the participation of 17 artists. It is a privilege for me to participate in this rich mingling of voices and visual languages and to see the world and its nine emotions through so many eyes. To begin this evening, I would love to introduce our illustrious panel, which will discuss the Indigenous voice, an evolving narrative, which is an engagement with the contemporary presence of Indigenous and the traditional arts of India. Our curator, Lena Vincent, will moderate the panel. Lena is an independent art historian and curator with over 2 decades of experience in arts management. She has a BFA in printmaking and an MFA in art history from Bangalore University. I would now like to warmly welcome our guest speaker, Catherine Myers, to whom I am eternally grateful for joining us and the artists at this unearthly hour. It is 6:30 a.m. in the morning for Catherine, and yet she is all here supporting our endeavors. Thank you, Catherine, and I'm glad you got your cup of coffee, and a very good morning to you. So honored to have you with us. Representing creative dignity and arts and crafts ecosystem is the amazing Vishpala Hundikari, an architect and a furniture designer. She is also one of the co-creators of Creative Dignity and founder of Eki Biki, a hybrid social enterprise. Among several accolades, Vishpala received a special mention at the Kamla Devi Chattopadhyay Award for Social Impact in the craft sector in 2021. We are always grateful for your support, Vishpala, to the arts and crafts and to all of us. Thank you. I would also now like to introduce Niranjan, J. Niranjan, who comes from a distinguished lineage of Kalamkari masters and continues as one of the finest Kalamkari artists in India today. His late father, Shilpa Guru J. Gurappa Chetty, who I have had the pleasure of meeting, was responsible for training artists and reviving the Kalamkari craft. An established expert in traditional Kalamkari techniques, Niranjan has also developed a deeply contemporary practice with this 6,000-year-old tradition. Looking forward to your thoughts, Niranjan, and welcome. Photographer par excellence and artist, photographer and artist par excellence, Mahesh Bhatt. I am delighted to introduce Mahesh as a documentary and editorial photographer with several books to his credit. In the last 35 years of his practice, he has donned several hats, that of a photojournalist, advertising photographer, corporate photographer, editorial photographer, and several others. Mahesh, thank you for joining us today. A very warm welcome to Venkat Sham. Venkat is a contemporary artist who works with murals, etchings, mixed media, and animation. He belongs to the tradition of Pardhan Gond art, initiated by the legendary Jangar Singh Sham, his uncle. After working with Jangar in the 1990s, Venkat has worked at a range of jobs. He also was fortunate to be guided by the pioneering J. Swaminathan. Now, these are the introductions of our illustrious panelists. With that over, I request Leena to take over. Over to you, Leena.
Thank you, Ashwini, and a warm welcome from my side also to the entire panel. I would like to introduce Catherine Myers, with whom I have the privilege of many different conversations in the past. Catherine Myers is an artist and professor of studio art at the University of Connecticut. She is a recipient of 3 Fulbright Fellowships to India and individual artist fellowship awards from the Connecticut Office of the Arts. She has exhibited her paintings widely and has curated exhibitions on Indian art in the United States, including a solo exhibition of Santosh and in India, including a solo exhibition of Santosh Kumar Das at Ojas Gallery and an upcoming exhibition, Tradition and Transformation, Mithila Art of India, at the William Benton Museum of Art, opening this March. Her video series regarding India features video interviews with Indian artists, so do look them up. I would like to invite you, Catherine, to say a few words about your response to the entire compilation and what you think about it.
Thank you, Lena and Ashwani, for inviting me to look over this exhibition, and I'm pleased to have the opportunity to speak about it briefly. It's great timing as I've been teaching a class on Indian art for the past 20 years at my university. I'm teaching it this semester with a focus on Indigenous art, and I have a rich collection of Indigenous art myself. And as Lena mentioned, I'm curating an exhibition opening in March called Tradition and Transformation, Mithila Art in India. And Lena's contributed one of a brilliant essay for the catalog. And what impresses me most and is exemplified by this exhibition is how artists are able to so creatively work within the parameters of each particular style defined by diverse Indigenous traditions, and how the work is not frozen in the past, but is still alive. While revering traditional themes and mythology, the work also is able to encompass contemporary themes. Although I'm familiar with most of the Indigenous art forms featured in the exhibition, Warli, Mithila, Gond, Patachitra, Kaligat, Kalamkari, miniature painting, Kerala murals, and Kathakali dance, I was not as familiar with the pod painting tradition of Rajasthan or the Kavi murals of Karnataka. So it's been a good opportunity for me to learn more about these other traditions from the works in the exhibit. The enduring theme of rasa offers so much for artists to interpret, and having a number of works in each category allows one to fully experience a great emotional range of each, with such diversity of stylistic responses and subject matter. Certainly from my experience of looking at Ragamala paintings, the Sringara or Love Rasa offers so much artistic potential that 7 artists have chosen to depict it. Some have chosen to depict it through the mythology of deities, such as Dulari Devi's Mithila painting of Krishna that epitomizes the notion of a mother's love. Chirag Kumawat's humorous image in the miniature tradition has a nearly photographic presence as a young man reverently paints a larger-than-life image of a beautiful woman on a wall. And then Saroj Shyam portrays a series of faces in a tree that's carried on the back of a tiger, while 2 pairs of faces turn away from each other and one is alone. The 2 in the center seem to have found each other and linked together. Gobi Cherovar's Kerala murals have 2 figures that feel nearly fused together as one in the rapture of love, the love rasa. Another rasa in this exhibition that drew a lot of creative response from 6 artists was the Adbhuta, the marvelous rasa, particularly in images of majestic trees by Worli artists Dilip Bahota, Naresh Boy, several sumptuous kalamkari trees by Nirajan, and Chirag Kumawat creates a marvelous sense of a visual puzzle as an artist paints a tree that's so lifelike it appears to be growing from a trunk that is really a leather bag. One assumes this bag carries the materials they're painting the tree with. In a magical world of colorful, hypnotically painted patterns, Venkat Shyam's imaginative image shows a different sense of the marvelous, where animals climb on and seem to mutate and grow from each other. Like the Shanta, the peaceful rasa, likewise, the Shanta, the peaceful rasa, elicited a great deal of creative response from 6 artists. It's a perfect emotion for the work of Suresh Mutakalam, working in the Kerala mural style, with his painting of a serene figure in a languid pose. A very subtle serenity of expression can be seen on the face of a Kathakali dancer that's been so skillfully captured in photos by Saji Jalil, as well as Mahesh Bhatt's Yashagana performers. In the Kavi mural tradition, Janardhan Havanji illustrates the rasa through a mythological theme of cosmic serenity with his Vishnu Narana serenely sleeping on the cosmic ocean. I find that the Raudra, the furious rasa, is epitomized by the wrath of Dulari Devi's Kali, which is a wonderful contrast to the stoic fury captured in Mahesh Bhatt's photographs of a Kathakali dancer. While the Banyak, the rasa of terror, fear, is so visibly portrayed by Badur Chitrakar in his image of trees in a village being cut down and where waters flood cities and the dead float. A little comic relief then is provided an image of the Hasya rasa of laughter, so perfect for the satirical Kaligat images by Kalam Patua, so wonderfully continuing its Bengali tradition of social commentary and satire. In a Matila painting by Pratik Prabhahar, parents gaze at their 2 children with clear familiar love to illustrate the Karuna rasa of compassion and empathy. Saroj Shyam illustrates a touching tale of a pregnant deer looking lovingly at her young. 2 Ganapati or Ganesh images epitomize the Vira or heroic rasa. A joyous Ganapati festival where the deity is triumphantly carried in a joyful procession has been created by Colin Josie with exquisite skill in the pod style. The Vira is also seen in a vigorous 16-armed Ganesh by Janardhan. And finally, connecting the past, present, and hopefully not the future is the Babasta rasa, grippingly illustrated by Venkat with his Corona deity and Shaji's image of a Kathakali performer. So thank you for this opportunity to be able to look at this exhibition and see the idea of Navarasa through these works of Indigenous artists. And I've seen this theme mainly portrayed in Ragamala painting. So it's really expanded my understanding, again, the emotional range of how these images can be illustrated. So congratulations to you all. It's a wonderful exhibition.
Thank you so much, Catherine. It was so good to hear your thoughts, and I really look forward to your exhibition that's going to open in the next month. And to continue with this evening, I would like to now actually open out a question to Vishpala and Ashwini both. As we have seen now, this exhibition in fact showcases some of the more well-known and some lesser-known forms of indigenous arts. What, in your experience, are some of the ways in which these evolving practices can be supported? And you both have been working in this space for some time. How can they be given space in this contemporary art world and market? Vishpala, with your experiences, with your organization, Ikibeki and Creative Dignity, how has your experience been? Please share with us.
Thank you, Lina. One is I'm super honored right now to be with all of you here. It's been lovely listening to the whole analysis Catherine just did each and every painting. So at Ekibeki, we have been working with a lot of artisans for many years, where we are trying to see how we can contemporize the crafts. Now, these crafts have been with us for many, many years. And what has happened is many of them have been working in silos. Many of them have not managed to come out of their comfort zones, because of which many people within our country are also not aware of these. Very few artists have managed to come out and reach out to people. So it's very, very essential that the crafts change with time. Anything which doesn't change with time is bound to die. So it is very essential to see what are the changes we need to make in this while going forward. So that is something we have been working at Ikibiki, and that is what we in fact did at Creative Dignity. That is how we have managed to bring people together, coming up with newer themes, coming up with newer ways of expressing yourself. That is something which is very, very essential for eventually it's the client or the customers or the buyers to connect to these artisans. They both have to, there needs to be a bridge, and that is what we have been trying to create. Ashwini, you want to continue or?
I would love you to share a bit more about what Creative Dignity and, such a force to reckon with, and when it started in the pandemic, and, how much more has been done to the arts and crafts sector.
Sure. So I'm very happy Dulari Devi ji is actually here. She is one of the first 5 artisans whose work has been created into a craft-based NFT. So that is a project we did at Creative Dignity.
That's incredible. We are so proud of that.
Yes.
So I'm very, very happy. And the whole project was not only that it was some work like her existing work, which was actually created into NFT, but the whole theme was something new, where a contemporary painter worked with Dulari Devi ji, and we had people from other crafts also, artisans from other crafts also. So we have used Gond, we have used Madhubani, Varli, we have Patachitra. So one contemporary artist worked with a traditional artist. They both decided what are the themes they are comfortable with. And at the end of it, it was the feedback which I got from both was they both actually learned a lot from each other. So it all started during the lockdown when both of them had actually enough time. So this, thanks to the lockdown, I would say we could explore something new. It was all done via WhatsApp and without meeting each other. So I would definitely say our rural artisans have also, they have reached a stage where they can actually use the technology very well. All this happened during the lockdown. The whole Creative Dignity movement started during the lockdown, because of the lockdown rather, where almost 500 people came together. These are the designers and organizations and people who are passionate about crafts, and they wanted to figure out as to how we can create an ecosystem through which we can keep the artisans at the center of it and make it grow. It was just a WhatsApp chat on 20th April 2020. It has become a network of over 500 members, and we have managed to reach out to over 12,000 artisan families all across India. So things are changing with time. We are adapting to technologies. We are trying to see how we can integrate these things and how we can create that bridge between the artisans and their patrons. To give you a few more
That's
examples.
wonderful.
Thank you. One more, like what you said, that what we can do going forward. So the themes you can come up with, the products you can come up with. So at Ekibiki, we have done a lot of stationery using these crafts, where the royalty goes back to the artisans. So although it is printed, their work is printed. They know exactly how many copies are printed, and they get royalty out of it. So this is something which has actually empowered them. So one of our artisans, Choti Tekam, her work was she's a Gond artisan. Her work was converted into stationery. Few months back, somebody came and asked her that, can we use your painting? They were giving her 500 rupees and they wanted to use it multiple times. She said, earlier I said yes, but then I remembered that you are actually paying me much more for my one painting, which you are printing. She didn't understand the royalty as a term, but at least she understood that this is somebody is trying to take advantage. She negotiated the terms and did a fabulous job there on her own.
This is absolutely inspiring and something practical that is going to hopefully change the way our artists and artisans are treated. So thank you, Vishpala. I think that is something that we can have many conversations on going forward. But coming to you, Ashwini, with Art Speaks Heritage, that you have also been working quite extensively through the COVID period, particularly. Also, like Vishpala said, it was a time when these questions became something important to consider and to bring solutions for. So, how has your experience been working with artists and artisans in this space?
Yeah, so at Art Speaks, our heritage vertical has been, dedicated to supporting the indigenous arts over the last 2 decades. So we've really had to shift the way we work during the pandemic. I mean, despite that, we reached out to more than 3,000 artists in this space over 2 decades, pan India, and worked with more than 100 art forms. We changed our model to hybrid, working online, and we changed and we kind of, like Creative Dignity and Vishpala, we moved our entire business model with a different set of logistics and a different way of marketing and working with the artists. That worked for us, and now it's a shout out to all the artists that we are here to, in the art and craft ecosystem, to look out on how we can preserve and conserve reservoirs of ancestral knowledge they have in their arts, and we are here to, to help make it more relevant. So if there's anything which is languishing and it needs support, we are here to, hear you out and to encourage it and to take it further. um, Partnerships and collaborations have been paramount. Without partnerships, collaborations, understandings, dialogue, discussions, and debate, we couldn't have continued the work we did through the pandemic. So that has been, and it has put us into a very different ecosystem of art. It has been an incredible ecosystem of cooperation across everyone's professions, letting competition be on the sideline. And, a lot of positivity has worked within the arts sector to get us and to keep us going and take us very, very, in a very smooth way to get us out back from the pandemic into regular streaming now. So that is what we have done. Now, another thing which we have really worked on is to help art lovers build their collections. For the indigenous arts to survive, building collections for art lovers is paramount. To do that, you have to give knowledge, you have to impart education, you have to increase awareness, you have to make it accessible, and you have to use all the tools at your disposal so that younger collectors get oriented to what is there, what are the techniques behind it, where you can get it, make it available. It must be available, accessible, and functional to all levels of collectors at all ages. That is the way to keep this entire the entire ecosystem to keep it alive, vibrant, and dynamic. So that's my take on what we are doing, and we hope to reach out to a lot more art forms than we are, and we need all your cooperation, everyone on this chat and on this event. It'll take all of us together to keep it going.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ashwini. I think that really you have raised some very crucial and important points in that we do need this space of collaboration. We do need education and awareness, and we need to make them, the artisans and the artists in every part of India, to feel that they are, that it's possible for them to be part of this larger whole. So, moving now, in fact, to two of the artists who are here with us and who both come from very beautiful lineages. Um, I'm addressing now Niranjanji and Venkatji to say that both of you come from these incredibly long lineages of your tradition that you have been working in. And you have also been experimenting and creating new ways of showcasing your work in this contemporary time. You have also been abroad, you have showcased your work in various different places and had different experiences. So, I would like to ask both of you, can you share a little bit about your work processes and what is the way in which you have, in fact, been developing this work in a contemporary space? So, Venkatji, if I may ask you first to please share your thoughts. Venkatji is here.
I think he's facing some technical issues. We can get back to him.
Okay, so
Maybe you
Niranjanji,
can ask Venkatji if he needs any assistance, we can guide him from here.
We'll do that.
yes, let's do that. But in the meantime, Niranjanji, if you would like to share your thoughts on the same discussion. Maybe you can unmute yourself. Perhaps there is a technical, some sort of technical issue. So let's go ahead with the discussion, and I'll open out the questions to Mahesh and Catherine now, and we'll return to Venkatji and Niranjan after that. So, in fact, Mahesh, you have had now a personal connection with documentation of Yakshagana practices because of your father, of course. And now these photographs that we have showcased are going to be part of a book that you're working towards. Also, included here in this discussion, I'd like to put out to Catherine that you have also been making films with artists. So now to both of you, I'd like to ask about what has been your experience with this sort of documentation, and why is it in fact important in this time and space to be documenting these practices? Mahesh, if I can open it out to you first.
Yeah, thank you, Lina. Can you hear me now properly?
Yes.
Okay. So, this particular piece of work, what is being shown was photographed in 1985, and the makeups, largely the traditional makeup, the southern style of Yakshagana has. There was a lot of specific colors that were being used, etc. And it was important to, it's lost, it's progressively deteriorated over the last few decades. And this documentation, I mean, I was just about 17 or 18 when I did this, and it is so important. Over the last 30 plus years, it has become such a repository of knowledge and information and art itself. I mean, it's not my, it's more than my art. It is art of the it is the art of those artists, so it is their creativity that we are bringing out now. And maybe this will, putting it out in the form of a book would definitely perhaps, may spark of a revival, who knows? Maybe somebody will take it and run with it and say a new artist, a younger artist of today say, hey, this is how it was. And so why not I go back and do this, the makeup that it was, and maybe it will lead to some conversations with the senior people in the field, the scholars who knew or who know what it's all about. That's why I think documenting this is so important, keeping it alive, and because then it will become a solid, what do you call a document, for years to come, for decades to come, in the form of a book. It lives so long, and it can travel. Yeah.
Right.
That's
Thank you, Mahesh. And this book, in fact, it's already in progress. Will it be something that will become available soon?
I hope so. Yes, I mean, it's going to be a bilingual book, Kannada and English. And we have already started the design process. And the translation, the text was written in Kannada, and now it's been translated to English. Yeah, I'm already late. I was planning to bring it out about a couple of years ago to mark the 20th year of my dad's passing, but I'm sure by the end of the year, I certainly want to bring it out.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I think that definitely we're all looking forward to it, and I'd like to tell the audience also to please look out for this book when it comes out.
Thank
So
you.
I think Niranjan ji has joined in. Yeah.
Yes, ma.
Okay, can
Namaste, ma.
Yeah. No. Good to see
okay,
you.
so
Yeah.
Namaste,
yes,
namaste, ma. Namaste, ma.
yes. Thank you. So, Catherine, coming back to you later. Niranjan
Yeah, yeah.
ji, actually,
Yes.
I wanted to ask this question to you. That is, you come from a really long lineage and tradition, and you have been working towards showcasing your work at so many different platforms, and also working in a very contemporary way. So, can you share your thoughts about your own experience and the way you have been working?
Okay. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is it okay, ma? Not okay?
yes, it's okay. We can hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Actually, my craft called kalamkari is completely using with all natural dyes and using with fabrics. So, I am the fourth generation in this craft. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I am the fourth generation in this craft. So mostly it's coming from the father to son like that. Actually, I learned this craft from my father, and he learned this craft from his father like that. So actually, in the 1957, there is only one person who knows the kalamkari. He's my grandfather. His name was Lakshmaya.
Okay.
He learned this craft from his father, my great grandfather. His name was Gurappa, as my father's same name like that.
Right.
They worked with these Dutch people in 1980s, 70s like that. So
Okay.
after actually these pieces were imported to export to European countries.
Okay.
Hello, yeah,
Yes.
export to European countries. So for this once Dutch people came to India in 50s, 15th century, they came to this Coromandel coast, Coromandel area. So they
Okay.
found all these traditional crafts. They made it a little bit contemporary. It was started in the 15th century only to
Okay.
do the contemporary style. Okay, that is the main link to that to do that. So after that, they used to work with our Kalamkari artisans throughout that Coromandel coast area. It's
Okay.
called Machilipatnam and Kalahasti, Golconda, and this Pulicat and Pondicherry, Madras. These are things.
Right.
From here, they collected all the things and they used to go to Sri Lanka, and from there, they're going to export to the all over the world. It went very well up to 1860s. See, in 1860s, there is no work for the London people, even Europeans, because
Okay.
these British people, they came to India, they owned their cloths here only. They purchased their cloth and they done their paintings, everything here only, and they brought back to European countries. So that was in European countries. Those people, they don't have work in cattle fields. So they
Okay.
became a mob in 1860s, like that. They attacked the Common House in London to stop that importing this Indian goods, Indian chintz, Indian art. So
The
in
chintz, yes.
1890s, they completely stopped to import. Then they started their own roller prints, our designs. They started to do the roller prints on our designs in European
Okay.
countries. So there was a gap between Independence Day to 1870s. 100 years gap was there. So in that gap, we lost all of our total Indian crafts, art. It's already
Okay.
3 generations passed away in
Right.
1870s to 1947. So whatever left the things with us. So in after 1947 independence, in our Indian government, they given a chance to Kamala Chattopadhyaya to revive the crafts, Indian crafts.
Okay.
She roamed all over India, and at the time she came to Kalahasti. There she found my grandfather, who knew about the
Okay.
kalamkari. It was only only one person who knew about the kalamkari in 1957. They
Wonderful.
started one training center with my grandfathers. He given training for 6 people. Out of that, 3 from my family, 3 from other families.
Okay.
So the journey was started from there only. The kalamkari journey was started from again. So I was inspired by that one. Actually, I met in Homi Setana in Mumbai. He was a filmmaker, and you know that Nelly Setana also. She was a textile block printed woman.
Right.
They gave me
Right.
one book. They gave me one book when I was at age of around 15 years. I used to go to my father with Mumbai to participate in exhibitions like that. So
Okay.
that book was inspired me very well. Why don't we do the contemporary like that? I saw many designs in that. They
Oh,
apply.
okay.
That is the inspiration of me to do the contemporary display.
That's really an
So
inspiring
till
story. So
that
Nelly
time, home
Setna.
started. Yes,
Right.
Nelly Setana and
Yeah.
Home Setana.
Okay.
They told me, Niranjan, we can start to revive the craft again.
Okay.
Whatever they done in till 17th century, after that nobody not done. So that I took the inspiration of this book and I started to do that with natural colors, and slowly I involved into canvas paintings to show that.
Right.
That is
And
my journey started with, yeah,
do you also
yeah,
run
yeah.
do
Please.
you run any institution, and are you also educating others
Yes,
in
ma.
this
Yes, yes.
sort of?
Yes, ma. Actually, I started one Kalamkari Research and Training Center. In that,
Okay.
I'm giving training for that local artisans. Actually, I took this tribal people, tribal women. I'm giving training for only the women.
Okay.
I'm going to train this tribal women are there. Till then, I given more than 170 women are there. I given for them. Actually, after 6 months, they're becoming employees there. So once they got married,
Wonderful.
they're going back, and again after 5, 6 years, they're coming back to work like that. So this is the chain link like that. They're also teaching their children.
Yes.
So this is what we are going to promote the craft.
Thank you
See,
so much for
actually,
sharing this, Niranjan Ji.
yeah,
It's
okay, ma,
really
okay.
inspiring, and in fact, your work in the exhibition also is
Okay,
so
thank you, ma.
beautiful and inspiring.
Thank
So
you.
it's great to know about the history of how Kalamkari has reached this place. Thank you so much, and
Yes, ma,
I
yes,
will,
ma, yes.
yes,
Thank you,
Thank you, ma.
absolutely.
Niranjan.
Thank you
Thank
for
you so
joining
much
us.
for joining in.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, ma. Thank you,
So
ma.
thank
Hello.
you. If Venkatji is here, I would like to ask
I think,
him
yeah.
the
He's
same
there,
question.
Lina. Is there?
Yes, I think that Venkatji is here, no?
Yes,
So,
Venkat has joined in.
oh,
Yes.
fantastic. So, Venkatji, talking about the long tradition that you are also coming from, and the way you have taken your work across the world, and you have worked on books, you have also, been working in a very contemporary space. Can you share a little bit about your thoughts right now? I think that perhaps he's still having some technical difficulties.
No, he's there. He's logged in. Namaskar, Venkat ji.
या
Namaskar. हाँ.
नमस्कार सॉरी मैं
हाँ,
थोड़ा बाहर
वेंकट
निकला
जी,
हूँ क्योंकि बहुत शोर
नमस्ते।
हो रहा था। नमस्ते नमस्ते,
Namaste,
बहुत शोर हो
namaste.
रहा था तो मुझे बाहर आना पड़ा दरअसल। आ,
अच्छा,
देखिए, सबसे पहले तो मैं बताना चाहूंगा कि ये एक मतलब ट्रेडिशन ना कह करके ये डेली लाइफ का आर्ट है। ये ट्रेडिशनल आर्ट नहीं है, डेली लाइफ आर्ट है। बनता है, बिगड़ता है। तो
अच्छा,
nothing is permanent in this world, kind of art in our generations, you know, in the Gond community. आप सुन पा रहे हैं?
हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल हम सुन रहे हैं।
हाँ, तो उस तरह का एक कला है। जैसे इसकी यात्रा, मतलब वैसे तो ये बहुत हजारों साल पुरानी है, क्योंकि जैसे जैसे हम लोग सभ्य होते गए, जैसे जैसे हमारा स्थान परिवर्तन हुआ, हम लोगों ने अपने आप को उस रूप में ढालना शुरू कर दिया।
हाँ
गुफाओं से झोपड़ियों में, झोपड़ियों से मिट्टी के घरों में, मिट्टी के घरों में, आज कैनवस और पेपर में, और उसके अलावा बहुत सारे ऐसे मीडियम्स हैं जिसमें हम काम कर रहे हैं। चाहे वो एक्रिलिक सीट हो या एक्रिलिक कैनवस हो या पेपर हो या और भी माध्यम है। उसके
हाँ
अलावा जिस तरह से आपने बताया कि मैंने बुक लिखा, तो लोगों को हमें समझाना पड़ता था कि ये कौन सा आर्ट है। सबसे पहले तो लोगों को समझ में नहीं आता था कि आर्ट क्या है, क्योंकि जिन्होंने भी देखा आर्ट को, वो जानना चाहते कि ये इस तरह का हमने कभी नहीं देखा, इसमें
हाँ
डॉट क्यों लगाते हैं, ये इसके पीछे की कहानी क्या है। तो मुझे इन सब बातों को बताने के लिए मुझे खुद लगा कि एक किताब क्यों ना लिखी जाए, क्योंकि
हाँ
जब तक हम किस किस को बताते रहेंगे तो लोगों को क्या होता है, जो लिखित में होता है उसे ज़्यादा अच्छे से समझ पाते हैं वो और देख पाते हैं। तो मैंने फाइंडिंग माय वे के नाम से एक किताब लिखी, आनंद, जो एस आनंद हैं उनके साथ मिल करके। और उसके अलावा क्या था कि मुझे बार बार एक ही बात कहा जाता था कि आपका जो आर्ट वर्क है और आर्टिस्ट से या और गोंड आर्टिस्ट से डिफरेंट है। आज हम इसको गोंड आर्ट के नाम से जानते हैं, लेकिन पहले इसको गोंड आर्ट नहीं कहा जाता था। इसका नाम था भित्ति चित्र। भीति दैट मीन्स वॉल, और चित्र तो दीवार पे बनने वाले चित्र।
हम्म
लेकिन जो क्रिटिक्स हैं या स्कॉलर्स हैं या और भी लोग हैं, उन्होंने इसका नाम दिया। वो पूछते थे कि आप कौन कम्युनिटी से हो। हम जब प्रधान बताते हैं तो प्रधान उनको समझ में नहीं आता, तो फिर गोंड बताना पड़ा हम लोगों को। और इस वजह से ये गोंड कॉमन वर्ड हो गया, क्योंकि गोंडवाना रीजन से हम आते हैं, तो
हम्म
गोंड पेंटिंग हो गया। लेकिन मुझे बस यही मतलब प्रश्न होता था मेरे लिए कि आप हमेशा अलग विषय पे काम क्यों करते हो, एक आपका डिफरेंट विषय क्यों होता है। तो मैं उनको समझाता था कि देखिए, हमारा जो आर्ट है या हमारी जो कला है, हम उसमें नित नए प्रयोग करते हैं, और जो
हाँ
हम देखते हैं, जो हम देखते हैं उसको हम बनाते हैं। तो ये ऐसा नहीं है कि हम पुरानी एक परंपरा को लेकर के चले आ रहे हैं। परंपरा नहीं है ये, नित नया कहें या कंटेम्प्रेरी कहें या समकालीन कहें। क्योंकि जो घर पे भी जिसको डिगना बोला जाता है, चौका बोला जाता है, जो काऊ डंग और वाइट क्ले से जो महिलाएं घर पे उसको कोर्टयार्ड पे या दीवार पे या यहाँ पे भी उसको अप्लाई करती हैं, वो भी हर समय नया हो जाता है। एक बार उन्होंने मान लो ज्योमेट्रिक पैटर्न्स कुछ बनाया तो दूसरी बार वो कुछ और बना देती है, तीसरी बार कोई और कुछ बना देती है। तो हमेशा नया होता है। और वही हमारे जीवन में हम लोगों ने सीखा है कि जो भी है, जो हमारे आसपास हम देख पा रहे हैं या समझ पा रहे हैं, चाहे वो प्रकृति से रिलेटेड हो, चाहे जो हमारे सामने जो घटनाएं घटती हैं, क्योंकि जो गोंड पेंटिंग की जो विशेषता है वो गाथाओं को लेकर के है। चाहे वो जन्म की गाथा हो, चाहे सृष्टि की गाथा हो, या क्रिएशन की कथा हो, तो सारी चीजें ना कहानियों से जुड़ी हुई हैं। और जो चीज हम देखते हैं भविष्य में वो कहानियां बन जाती हैं, बाद में वो
हाँ।
जाता है। तो लोग उसे तत्कालिक नहीं समझ करके उसको अलग रूप से समझने लगते हैं, अलग सोचते हैं और कहते हैं कि तुम ऐसा क्यों बनाते। तो ये बाद में कुछ और होगा, जो हम देखते हैं उसको हम बनाना चाहते हैं और बनाते हैं, चाहे वो आज का पेंडेमिक का विषय हो, चाहे वो आतंकवाद के हमले का, चाहे और भी विषय हैं। खास करके मेरे विषय पृथ्वी को लेकर के या ग्लोबल वार्मिंग को लेकर के रहे हैं। मैं हर साल एक ना एक पेंटिंग जरूर उस पर बनाता हूँ। और अभी पैंडेमिक को लेकर के करीब 8-10 पेंटिंग्स मैंने बनाए हैं, जो कहीं म्यूजियम में है, ऑस्ट्रेलिया के म्यूजियम में है, इंडिया के म्यूजियम में, नेशनल म्यूजियम मुंबई में है। तो अलग अलग जगह पे वो गए हैं और लोग उनको सराहते हैं, क्योंकि एक नया रूप और दूसरा जो गोंड आर्ट में उस चित्र के पीछे या उस पेंटिंग के पीछे कहानी होती है, उस कहानी को समझते हैं, सोचते हैं और उसके अंदर समा जाते हैं। तो ये गोंड कला का एक रूप है जो मैं बनाता हूँ और दिखाना चाहता हूँ।
थैंक यू वेंकट जी, आपने तो बहुत सुंदर तरीके से हम सबको समझाया है, तो बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, थैंक यू सो मच। एंड जो आपने वर्क दिए हैं हमारे एग्जीबिशन के लिए, उसमें भी इतनी सारी कहानियां हैं। इफ यू लुक एट ईच पार्ट ऑफ इट, इट इज टेलिंग अ डिफरेंट स्टोरी. So thank you so much for joining us today and telling us about your work. And I would encourage everyone to go back uh, to the website and have a look at everybody's works. Thank you so much, Venkatji, for sharing your thoughts.
थैंक यू लीना।
So
तो
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Venkat. Thank you so much.
Yes. So as Venkatji says, this element of newness and this consideration of whether we should use this word tradition, which he raised, is something so beautiful actually. And to constantly think of something as evolving and new and giving the space for that, I think this is something that we can celebrate in this particular exhibition. So moving on to that one part of the question that we had to leave out, I'd like to come back to you, Catherine. Catherine is still here with us? Yes, of course. So, Catherine, we were talking about this idea of documentation and why documentation is important. Since you have, in fact, made so many films with artists from various, urban artists and rural artists, artists in different places. What are your thoughts on this idea of documentation and why is it important?
Well, I felt it was important when I started my video series in 2011 because I felt that everything I was explaining to my students about art from India was through other people's research, and which was wonderful. But what I was missing was how the artists spoke about their work, and sometimes a particular artist's way of speaking or expression is more important than the words that they might say. And I feel like also with American students, they tended to kind of exoticize artists from India, and it was great for them to see that Indian artists were like any other artists in their studios working, and it created less of a sense of distance. And then, along with a number of other people, I was able to go to Madhubani and interview two artists, Santosh Kumar Das and Urmila Devi. And I think one thing we learned with the challenge with Urmila is that we needed to transcribe the video. And so we had a group of people, helping us with the interview to be able to interview her. And then it took us about 2 years to find enough people to help transcribe it once we came back. And so that was a great learning curve. And I was in India in my Fulbright in 2002 with Suresh Nair and Pradosh Mishra at BHU. And I had to come back, but I was supposed to go up to Madhubani and interview a number of other artists. So that's on hold until another time. But I think I love the idea of including Indigenous artists within the contemporary field and talking about these artists as contemporary in the way that other artists are considered contemporary, but we tend to think of contemporary artists as the urban Indian world. And but Indigenous artists are contemporary artists also. And so I was really happy to include these two artists in my series and open that up and not have that sense of distinction anymore, and to hopefully be able to grow the number of Indigenous artists I'm able to interview, and again, to work with people who can help me, if necessary, transcribe that. It's early morning here, so the sun is coming right in my face. So it's like, sorry, I feel like I'm in a spotlight or something.
No, that's beautiful. It's lovely to see the sun coming there. And yes, thank you so much for your thoughts, Catherine. I think that this idea of being inclusive and integrating artists of all types and from wherever they are within the same space is something that for all of us as being part of this cultural world is a very important thing. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. As we, in fact, come towards the end of this entire program, I would like to open it up to anyone who perhaps has some thoughts. Mr. Gopi is here. Perhaps he would you like to say a couple of words, Mr. Gopi? Because his hand is raised. Regardless, I would like to open it up to anyone who would like to ask a question about the exhibition or about one of the artists, or in fact share any of your thoughts or comments, because we have a few minutes on hand before we close the event. Vishpala, would you like to say a few words, or have you, share any more thoughts?
So what, just now Venkatji was saying, it is very, very essential that, people look at them as not somebody who is doing things in their own place. So, they are trying to contemporize, and what is happening is we have to give them new avenues. In the sense, what is happening with the craft sector here is not many people, they are not artisans are not finding dignity, they are not getting enough money out of it, and that is why they want to move out of this. They want to move out of it, and because of which even less craft products are made. Good quality crafts are becoming really rare. So, and it's become a vicious cycle where even when people want to, access good quality art, it is not available. So we have to work right from creating awareness about crafts. All of us are sitting here. There are at least another 100 crafts none of us are aware about. So that whole craft awareness is something which we have to do. We have to also work together with each other as to what are the newer themes we can get. So as earlier in Goan, because they were in that certain surroundings, they would paint the trees and birds and animals they were seeing. Now, all these artisans, when they come to the cities, they see that and they depict such beautiful stories out of it. So that is something we have to bring, we have to get closer to each other. We have to understand each other. And that is how I feel the crafts, the awareness will grow and people will start thinking of it in various ways. I have seen, I think it is Venkatji's paintings, wall paintings only in one of the resorts in Bandhavgarh. And they are beautiful, beautiful as in the whole wall has the gold painting, and it's so beautiful. So, you have to come up with these newer ideas. Recently, we did work with Starbucks, where for 14 of their stores, we depicted the coffee stories in Indian craft. So we have used gond, we have used copper enameling, we have used embroideries, ari and chicken curry, we have used lippan kam, rogan art. So there are newer ways one can look at it, and how we can integrate that in our day-to-day life is something all of us have to work together.
Right. Absolutely. I think that this is something very important. I'd like to, in fact, read out a couple of comments
Lina,
that
I
have
think
come in.
Gopi has joined in. Maybe we can have Gopi say a few words.
Yes, of course. It would be wonderful to have him speak. In fact,
I just saw him.
Dilip Bahota is also here with us, which is wonderful. Namaste, Dilip. It's wonderful to have you here. Mr. Gopi, would you in fact like to share some of your thoughts? I think that
Oh, I think he's
still,
gone off again.
yes, we still do have this whole problem with internet connectivity, so I hope he can join in. But before that, I will just read out what Deepak says. We need to have a more larger, visible, critical debate on Indigenous artists and art practice with the larger artist community. Yes, that I think something is which is very important. And of course, Ashwini, in your capacity with Art Speaks as well as Art Speaks India Heritage, you are in fact trying to address this by bringing different sorts of artists together, I guess. And I think Meera is also agreeing with Deepak about how do we equate indigenous artists with the contemporary ones and have an equal perception as well as value for both materials. Yes, definitely. The question of value is something that comes up very often as curators and as people working within also a certain economy. It's always a question that comes up as to what is this market, how is the market divided, and how do we address these gaps or spaces that are sometimes extremely problematic. And in the case of Indian artisans, I think it's even more problematic because there are a number of other issues like backwardness in so many different ways that hinder this process of integration within a larger market. Um, so I think that, well, I'm so glad that a conversation is going on and we need more dialogues like this. So, as we come to the end of this program, I would like to invite Ashwini to take the stage again and please address the audience with your closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Lina, and thank you to everyone, all our panelists, to Catherine, to Vishpala, to Venkatji, to Niranjanji, and to Mahesh for giving all your perspectives and your valuable time. I would encourage you all to please catch our Navrasa show on the viewing room of artspeaksindia.com. Please share your thoughts. You can contact us directly if you need personal catalogs, if you need any information, any perspectives, or any advice. We have an advisory section which can help you with your individual needs. And thank you all so much for attending and participating. And let's all, work on uplifting the arts together. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone,
Thank you.
and
Thank you, ma'am.
bye-bye
Thank you,
and
madam.
take care.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lena and Ashwani and
Thank you
everybody.
much. Thank you much.
Thank you so much, Catherine. See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you, Sweeney ma'am. Thank you, Lina ma'am. And thank you,
Thank you
everybody,
so much,
for
Chirag.
watching.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, Janardhan. It's wonderful to have your work.
Thank you, Janardhan. I'm waiting for the video.